New York and on the new Hot 97 app. Ebro in the morning on Hot 97.
Ebro in the morning, beautiful Laura Styles, Rosenberg, Chakabars on the program.
Yeah.
Big IG man. Big I, step close to the mic. He's soft spoken. He types and writes very well. Takes a lot of great photos and travels to Africa very frequently.
Shaka, where are you from?
So my heritage is Jamaican and Celtic, so Scottish, and a little bit of Chinese. But I'm from. We just recently found out that my granddad is from St. Anne's in Jamaica, so you know.
Did you already know you were Jamaican? You just didn't know specifically where?
Yeah, I didn't know where specifically, but I knew that I was Jamaican, and I kind of grew up Rasta and grew up in that kind of culture, so it's normal.
God, you are so cool. I would do anything to be you.
Why?
I'll just say it right now. Because, I mean, Jamaican culture in general is just one of my favorite, like, cultures, period, to... From a
and clearly the rest of the world enjoys it.
That's what I'm saying. Right. It's like I'm not the only person who feels this way.
Yeah.
For a tiny island, the exports from Jamaica are obviously phenomenal.
The musical impact, the cultural impact, like it's incredible.
The food,
I mean, but
what is that? It's just an awesome
Everything.
random mix of
you've
stuff.
been very outspoken on your Instagram account. I mean, Beyonce's posted things that you put up. Rihanna's posted things that you've put up. You've been very outspoken, not only about health, right, but humanity. And specifically bringing attention to the beauty of Africa, you know, and trying to reframe how Africa is made to look like this terrible, I guess, horrible place.
Well, because they only show aspects of poverty and pain, which clearly exist, but that's not the only
while
thing.
there's infrastructure things that need to take place, economic things that need to take, corruption issues, there are tons of issues. The same issues, by the way, we have here in the United States.
Of course.
You've taken it upon yourself to not only raise money, but go on the ground in Africa many times. Talk about some of the things that you've built in Africa and where they are.
So the first thing that I did is I did a boxing match to raise money, which I won, by the way.
You had the boxing match.
Yeah.
Yo,
So
you seem like the most chill dude to ever put on boxing gloves.
He's actually also a military veteran too.
Wow.
Yeah. So I learned how to box in the military, and then I used that to go to Congo, because unfortunately Congo is the richest country in the world, but it's also the poorest country in the world. So in terms of GDP, it's the richest country in the world.
Wow, I didn't know
But
that.
in terms of mineral resources, in terms of GDP, it's the poorest country in the world, but in terms of mineral resources, it's the richest country in the world.
And most of those mineral resources are taken by European corporations, and the finances are funneled to Europe.
Chinese, Indians, everybody's got a piece of Congo, because, you know, everybody wants to talk about Black Panther and this idea of Wakanda. But if you want to talk about vibranium, an electromagnetic superconducting mineral, this is what's in our iPhones, this is what's in our microphones.
Comes from Congo.
It comes from the Congo. So I basically went there and I raised some money to keep an orphanage open in the east of Congo, which we still support. And then I went back. I did another boxing match, won that, raised more money, and we...
Let's be honest, he doesn't have to say the winning part. That part seems just stunning. I just want everyone to know.
We refurbished a hospital. We were going to knock it down and rebuild it, but we couldn't, because we basically didn't really want to have to speak to the government, rather than, you know, take time and everybody steals money. We just said, okay, cool, there's this hospital. We employed everybody in the area to rebuild it, and we rebuilt it. We gave them solar power. We fixed their water tank. They didn't have a front door. So I was there, and it was really beautiful to see babies being born where before they were getting infected and dying, and now they're not. And that was something really important to me. And then after that, so I have an orphanage that I support in Kinshasa, and I have an orphanage that I support in Goma, which is in the east. And then after that, last year we did this whole thing called Love Army for Somalia, which we raised nearly $3 million for Somalia. And then last year I spent most of my year in and out of Somalia. And I ended it in December, where we did a sustainability capacity building project to support the agricultural industry, which was destroyed by the Civil War. And we basically delivered 112 engines for irrigation, 90 solar panels, lots of tools. And I got a video recently from the Minister of Agriculture, and he was basically saying, thank you, so on and so forth. And then we got some videos from the farmers, and they were basically saying, we don't need food aid anymore in this area. So,
wow.
which is
So
once they have the tools to sustain themselves, because the industrial revolution, I guess, is as far as you look around the world, missed parts of Africa, obviously due to people wanting to stay in control, colonists wanting to stay in control of the soil and the ground and the people there, right?
Well, I don't think it missed Africa. I think there's been many kind of revolutions, industrial revolutions around the world. I think they were built on the back of Africa. And that's why Africa and African countries haven't been able to be included in that. But if you look at what's going on now in Africa, 9 out of the fastest developing countries on earth are all in Africa. I think Ethiopia is just about to take the top spot as the fastest developing country on earth, but it was Ghana until very recently. And these are things that we don't tend to talk about, but the industrial revolution, the fourth industrial revolution, is going to happen in Africa. And the people who make or develop economic policy, people in Silicon Valley, and they know this very well. And because of, like, essentially what we have in the West is a post World War II setup. In Africa, they didn't have landlines for cable phones, so they don't have to spend a lot of money ripping that all out to put something else in there. Actually, what can happen and is happening in Africa is jumping or leapfrogging Europe, where we have
to the satellite, where it's the satellite service, right?
Cryptocurrency, 3D printing, 5G, like all of these things are going to happen in Africa on a systemic level, how they haven't been able to happen in Europe at the same rate, because look at how expensive it is for a piece of land here, and then look at how expensive it is for a piece of land in Congo, which is a paradise, by the way. It's a lot cheaper, and then you can do a lot more of it, and all the resources are there, and all the people
and so
are
you
there.
See all of this, right? You're looking at this future, and now let's jump to Kanye West.
Okay.
Right? And the reason I'm making that jump, and people are like, wait, how are you tying this together, is because for me, right, I look at what you're doing, I look at the mental space and the spirit that, while it's fiction, it gave people a great feeling of togetherness, which was the whole Wakanda Forever. It's a state of mind. It's a state of thinking. So you're talking about Africa being the future. Meanwhile, we have black people who are literally trying to figure out how to still be accepted in a society that has told you time and time again, this is not for you. But won't make this jump that you are clearly trying to make, which is come together with your brothers and sisters around the world and be powerful.
I think it's individualism. I think people are thinking, like, I think Kanye West in particular is very much out for himself. If you want to kind of talk about him, he came out in 2005 and said George Bush doesn't care about black people. Now he's taking pictures with Donald Trump. And really what it is a Stockholm syndrome. His mother passed away, unfortunately. I think that maybe the government had their hand in that, because I don't really feel like somebody can flip like that completely and go from being, his lyrics, his music, it was the hood that supported him to get him to where he is now, and now he doesn't support the hood. In fact, he's going against the hood by saying that he supports Donald Trump. We are brothers, we have dragon blood. Like, for me, that is pseudo-intellectual, and for him, I realized that he actually needs some psychological help when he was talking about he was trying to get in the fashion industry in Paris and he was being refused to get into the fashion industry. It was like, be the fashion industry. Like, you're Kanye West.
I always felt the same. That was the one thing that always drove me crazy, is in one sense he always had this thing about they don't want us to do this, we should do this. And I kept thinking, why are you so desperate for their you don't need their validation. The truth is,
I've been doing this longer than you.
If he'd got
Sway.
That was the exact conversation. Sway's like, do it. You could do it.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, basically he's saying, like, I don't want to do it the way I don't want to do it how Fubu did it and Carl Kanai did it.
I don't want to do it the black way.
I don't want to do it the way black people done it previously. I want to do it in, like, the white, gay, real fashion world that I aspired to, that he never felt fully accepted in.
But if you look at Negroes in Paris, then you see that there was a period of time where there was a lot of Africans going to Paris to get bleaching cream and to lighten their skin, and being accepted within that kind of setting is really a self-hate setting. It's a Stockholm syndrome. You have been oppressed by a people for so long that now you want to be that people and emulate those people. But really, you know, we can actually go to African countries that really exist, not Wakanda, because me and a few other people, as part of a project where we're refurbishing a school in Jamaica and we're building a school in Ghana called the We Will Rise Together project, we took about 1,500 students to go see Black Panther in Jamaica, Ghana, London, and in Harlem. And it was actually brother Immortal Technique who helped us to do that, and Michael B. Jordan and Cara Delevingne that helped us to do that. People want to see this stuff happen, but it's like, if you're a millionaire and you're complaining that you're not being accepted, what is it you're trying to be accepted into? Are you just trying to make more money? Are you just trying to be accepted in, like, what are you doing for Chicago? Like, what are you actually doing for the hood? It really boggles my mind when there's so many people killing each other in Chicago. There needs to be an educational program. There needs to be an economic program.
You could do a lot if you
Well,
wanted
there's
to.
people that have obviously known Kanye for a long time that, you know, GLC, who tweeted, fam, you haven't been here in 17 years.
Wow.
And
Like,
guys,
there's a lot of positive things happening in Chicago. You're just not here.
And we reported that the Donda Project, remember, his old house was supposed to be turned into like a multicultural center for creatives that's been abandoned, and people have questions like, what happened? What happened to the, you know, the support that he was supposed to put into
The
all
Sunken
this?
place. Like, let's not beat around the bush. It's the Sunken place. He has, you know, unfortunately lost his mother, and now he's been taken in by the Kardashian family, who I personally believe destroy and appropriate African culture, and that's what they've been doing. I don't really think
Gems.
that they do anything positive for. Maybe Kim Kardashian's a genius. I think what Kanye is doing is he's got a new album coming out. The Hood has rejected him because he rejected the Hood. Now he's trying to align himself with Europeans. Now all of a sudden lots of Europeans care about his opinion, and now he's created this hype, which is what the Kardashians do. They create bad press so that you are going to go and buy his album, or, you know, he's going to create an audience for himself where he doesn't have an audience. But at the end of the day, this is what I'm saying. Like, my Instagram has, you know, 600 however many thousand people on it, and I speak to a network of pro-black and pro-African and pro-human and pro-woman and pro-indigenous accounts, and whenever there's anything like H&M, Nivea doing the whole bleaching thing, anybody does any foolishness, we'll just shut you down. Like, we'll shut you down, we'll boycott your thing, and you'll have to go somewhere else. And like, the Sunken place is a very real thing, and I think that needs psychological care. It needs love.
Is that going to happen to Kanye?
I don't know. I mean, if he keeps talking all this madness, he'll just get shut down. Like, the thing is that if you look at the power of social media now, it's too diffuse. Like, there's, you know, somebody who can just open up an account and just say, you know, F this person, and then eventually the account will get shut down. But if you create a movement where you're making everybody shut that person down, it's like, what are they going to do? Where is he really going to go? Like, you can't hide on social media. So where's he going to go? What's he going to do? And that goes for all of these artists that I believe are creating coon-like stereotypes of African people, where they are pretending or emulating or imitating the worst parts of quote-unquote African culture, because it's not African culture to destroy each other, to murder each other, to be destroying our women, to be practicing alcoholism, etc. But the problem is that the music industry isn't owned by African people, though African people populate the music industry. The music industry is owned by people who they're not going in the hood. They don't know that struggle. They don't know where it came from. And now you have all of these people, essentially in London, there's a real problem with children stabbing each other.
Yeah, there's a lot of stabbing.
Yeah, and from areas that I live in, they're stabbing each other because they know that they're going to be able to put themselves on shows such as Link Up TV or Grime Daily,
and they're going to put out a grime record and talk about the stabbing.
Say we stabbed somebody, and
that's
then
really
we're
a thing. Kids are so desperate to get on Grime Daily that it's like become a problem.
Yes,
yeah, that's how they're creating content. They're creating content to basically say.
But that goes back to that Tekashi 6ix9ine conversation that we're having, right? And I'll be honest with the audience. There's aspects of things going on behind the scenes that have gotten out of hand, right? With individuals who gave these people money, right, to propagate this imagery around face tats and gang culture. And now it's starting a blowback because they want more money in the street. And this stuff is spoiled over. There was somebody bust a gun at the Barclay, and this is happening, and that's happening. But people think if we go out and go, okay, this Tekashi thing is okay. Now you have other kids. It's like, oh, that's how I gotta act to get hot.
But Shaka, real quick, the one thing do you find it ironic that when you talk about you made a really great point about what the industry is. It's populated by people of color and not run by people of color. You have an opportunity. Kanye West, the same person who's complaining, could actually, he is powerful enough to impact the entire music industry. And what he's choosing to do right now, in the most passionate way he's ever used his voice, is to do this destructive thing to people of color.
He's not speaking about Sandra Bland. He's not speaking about Eric Garner.
He's never heard of Sandra Bland.
He's not speaking about all of these victims of police brutality. He's not speaking about, like, he has literally nothing relevant to say anymore. He's been a millionaire for how many years, and now he wants support from white supremacists. Is that what he's doing?
But isn't it amazing? Because Hov and Beyonce have been millionaires for even longer than Kanye West, and they're using their energy to do that.
Well, no, but that's why I pointed out Pharrell. There's Pharrell, and the reason I use Pharrell, and I'm gonna be honest with you, is because remember Pharrell was popping with the fashion thing before Kanye.
Yes, of course.
Right, and has a very reputable fashion brand, Billionaire Boys Club, and he works for G-Star, and he has an Adidas deal, right? And he's very successful in music, right? And he hasn't had to align himself with hateful, mean people. He talks about humans, like the shoes you have on right now.
No, it's a great, Ebro, it's a great point. He literally, you're saying you're about love. You're a man who did this before you. He literally, the whole brand, he's still making money, but the whole brand is about positive things, and he gives to places like,
he's got one called Human Made.
But we have this wanton worship of gangsterism, right? Yeah. But we don't understand where gangsterism came from. It came from the Italians and the Jews and the Irish coming over here as immigrants and having to put together and practice essentially, organized crime to be able to stake a claim in New York, to be able to stake a claim in various places. Now we worship gangsterism. And who are we worshiping when we're worshiping gangsterism? The Crips and the Bloods. We're starting to protect the community. Now with drugs and COINTELPRO and all these things that have happened, now the Crips and the Bloods are there to destroy the community. Essentially, we are worshiping something that is destroying us. But the thing about self-hate is that when you hate yourself, anything that is good for you, you will hate. And anything that is bad for you, you will love. And this is what's happening. But, we have an event tomorrow called Pan Afro Link Up, where we're getting together the family and we're doing cocktails, celebration and conversation. We're going to talk about this sort of stuff, and also how we're building bridges to Africa and how we're going to move forward, because all of this complaining is like first world problems. I don't like to use that term, but it's privileged people's problems. Like, shut up. Like, your life's not that bad. Like, people are going out in the street and killing each other over this materialism that you validate yourself through. But really, you're just acting like a house Negro.
It's interesting you say that, too, when you say, first world problems and people. Basically, you said people were whining. And Kanye tweeted a woman named Candy Jackson.
No, that's not her name, but I keep going. I like it.
And her perspective, while saying other things that we all disagree with, they are using this language of whining, victim mentality, and these other things, which is similar but not the same. But they're using it in a atmosphere that is trying to devalue the impact of slavery on black people. They're trying to devalue the impact of racism and white supremacy on society in general and black and brown people. But they're using this same language, and I want you to kind of unpack that.
I was talking about the privileged millionaire Kanye West. I'm not talking about the children in the ghettos and the group homes and all of the people who face in economic oppression and racism, because that is a real thing. And Black Lives Matter, I think they should look more into something called the Black Liberation Movement and start actually looking at how to develop an economic program to be able to liberate themselves from this struggle. But racism is a real thing. And if you look at the mass incarceration, if you look at the police brutality, if you look at what they do with the jobs, you can't even sit in Starbucks. Like, it's ridiculous for a woman who's clearly from a privileged background to come out and say, oh, you're whining. I believe that if you root your whole identity in struggle, it's going to be very difficult to progress. But there are really people dying in the streets. So what are you really trying to talk about? What are you really trying to say? Oh, so I believe...
And plenty of black people have been sensitive and focused on improving the lives of poor black and brown folks while also making economic progress and doing things in other ways. Like it's not, I'm offended by the idea that you can't multitask.
Yeah, it's not one or the other. You can economically prosper, and I think that that's what we should look for. But what you shouldn't do, which is I think is very cheap and very crass, is to basically marginalize people who are in an economic situation because you're not there. Exactly, and in pain. Essentially, when slavery was ended, we didn't have no therapy after slavery was ended. So we had this post-traumatic, there's a woman called Dr. Joy DeGroy Leary who talks about post-traumatic slave syndrome. We had this post-traumatic slave syndrome, and now in the ghettos, you have this violence, you have this police brutality, you have the drugs, you have the fast food places, you have this myriad of all of these problems together, and people are living in it. So they're living in trauma. Like I went to Iraq, and seeing some of the people who came out of Iraq, and even myself who came out of Iraq, out of a war zone in the military, and seeing how psychologically destroyed they were. But we don't ever think about that when it comes to the people in the ghettos.
No, black and brown people don't get thought of as people who need mental health support.
No.
And help. They just get thought of as criminals that get thrown in
because
cages.
of racism.
Yes.
Because look at the whole drug thing and
now opioids are a problem, and drugs are a problem. It's a
problem.
mental health issue. Before, when it was just black and brown people,
Get in
it was
prison.
crime. It was
Get
crime.
in prison and it's crime. And this is what they've done to systemically destroy African people. But this is what COINTELPRO was about. J. Edgar Hoover, whose name is on the FBI building, he started an initiative, and we know this because the White Panthers, actually the Europeans who were part of the Black Panthers, liberated these documents from the Pentagon, I do believe. He started this initiative, which was basically to stop a black nation being created in the United States. This is all online, you can just go and see it. To stop a black nation being created in the United States, to stop the rise of a black messiah. So they killed, the FBI in 1999, was sued by the Martin Luther King family, and they assassinated Martin Luther King, and they admitted it. Yet they want to use his name every 10 minutes to talk about peace.
Well,
but
it's
you
marketing.
murdered
It's
him.
marketing. Come on, Sean,
Yeah, of course. But Malcolm X, Bob Marley, all of these people that they went through and assassinated, and at the same time, the last thing, the objective was to stop Africans in North America speaking to Africans in South Africa in particular, because of how much gold was being taken out of South Africa by North America. So you have these initiatives that still continue to this day to stop Africans here
from communicating.
Yeah, because that's money. That's a business. Racism
Well, and that's
is a
why
business.
Pan-Africanism is important, and I brought it up on the show many times, is because I believe that for even black people in America to actually have true financial support and growth, we're going to have to communicate with the powers and the individuals who are financially secure in other parts of the world that look like us and know what we're going through.
I mean, let's talk about Congo just for a second. I'm going to come back to Congo because it's nearly 2.4 million kilometers squared. It has every single mineral on Earth in Congo, right? Most of the world's coltan is there. So we're talking about iPhones. Most of the world's wolframite, tungsten, lithium. A lot of, actually, they found a $1 trillion vein of lithium in Afghanistan, but we talk about like with that.
But that's in the mountains, and that's why we're going back to Afghanistan to try to,
because
they can't get to it, so they gotta
for our car
take
batteries,
it over, right?
You know?
And it,
But back to Congo, it has the world's second largest rainforest. It also has a lot of the minerals that we create our aerospace and our automotive industry with. If you want to talk about what makes a country a superpower, what makes a country a superpower nowadays is nuclear weapons, right? 80% of the world's uranium comes from Congo. That's what the Manhattan Project was about, to develop the nuclear bomb, was getting spies into Congo. CIA had spies in Congo, and they were getting minerals to New York to develop the nuclear bomb. So until Africans reclaim Congo and reclaim the center of all of the mineral wealth on Earth as their own and take a piece of that, we're never going to be rich. We're not supported by who? Like, what country is black? Like, I was speaking to Yasin Bey about this. It's very difficult.
Mighty Mos Def.
Yeah. I was speaking to him, and he was like, "Yo, black is it doesn't say anything about a person to call someone black or to call them white, right? Black is not a country." Right? It can't be a noun and an adjective. So why are we always referring to ourselves as black, as black, as black, as black, as black? I understand the political term and the connotations behind it, but if you go into Africa, I'm not black. I'm from Ghana and I'm Fanti, or I'm Asante, or I'm from Nigeria and I'm Europe, or I'm Igbo. And these people know where they're from. And what happens is now, because of all of this destruction and all of this media, a lot of Africans in this country believe that they're going to go to Africa and not be accepted. And nobody wants them to see them, which is ridiculous.
That's the most frustrating concept.
It's ridiculous. But most of the people who try and say, we're indigenous to here, we need this land, are people essentially whose ancestors built this country. But the government is so psychopathic, you can't make progressions in this country as you can in Africa. So I say to people, a lot of the people who were talking about, here, have never been to Africa. Because once you get there, you start going, oh, okay, so I can do this here, I can do this here. People are enterprising, people are warm, the weather's nice. But you don't... For me, it was just mad. I've been to over 11 African countries. I have never once been pulled over by the police in Africa and thought, oh my God, they're going to shoot me. Whereas here, I'm like, yo, like the police are crazy here. So what? Like, do I run? Do I stay? What do I do? That's ridiculous.
I got to go back to one thing, because I feel like, even though I'm not a journalist in the first place, just one thing. Earlier, you said in the Kanye West conversation that you believe the government may have killed Donda West. Why would you think that would be a priority of the government?
Look at what he was saying at the time that she died. This was 2007 when she died. In 2005, he said George Bush doesn't care about black people, at the same time where George Bush was just swerving Katrina, where people in Africa were looking at what was going on in Katrina, people in Uganda, people in, Congo, Burundi, and they were going, what the hell is that country doing? This is supposed to be the free country of the world and, the promised land, and go there in the American dream, and they're leaving people to die out in the streets.
So it fractures the international marketing plan, which we've talked about with regard to Donald Trump and what's happening right now in America, where the rest of the world is like, it doesn't look so great over there anymore. Yeah. I don't want to go.
I hear that. To me, there's a big leap from it being that to literally the government saying, "Oh, well, we know his mother's planning surgery. We found out. We're going to have the doctors kill her."
Well,
that is a tough. I'll just be honest. That's a tough sell for me.
I'm saying I think. I'm not saying I know, right? And I'm not for 1 second saying it is something that has been confirmed.
Definitive. Okay.
But every article I've seen about it, seen about it around the time was, we're to confirm what happened in the autopsy, complications during surgery. At the time, he was making really bold political statements, and he was riling up African people to say, we're Africans, and
he made Diamonds from Sierra Leone. Remember when he first put out Diamonds?
Yep.
Remember when he first put out Diamonds?
And
people were mad at Kanye because he was talking about diamonds, and black and African people was like, yo, you don't know what's going on in Africa with diamonds right now. He made the remix, and he said, I'm not talking about these diamonds. I'm talking about the rock diamond and this. But what's going on in Sierra Leone, and he made sure to address it because he felt the heat. And this is early internet days.
Yeah, that was it was crazy. No, I'm not saying that the impact wasn't there. By the way, it was getting me depressed, reminding me of what Kanye used to be.
The person who owns the biggest diamond mine in Sierra Leone is an Israeli. In South Africa, 85% of the wealth is not owned by people who live there, and there's still benches to this very day where it says Europeans only, and there's still all white towns in South Africa.
Oh yeah.
So if you have somebody who is that impactful in a culture and that impactful to a people, and they start making bold political statements, and then you see his mum passed away. Unfortunately, I'm saying she passed away, but what I think, and then after that his career just starts going from he needs psychological care to he needs more psychological care to he's in with the Kardashians. He made Gold Digger, now he's with the
Listen,
Kim Kardashian.
I agree with every single thing you're saying around it, by the way, of course, right, with regards to diamonds, everything. I'm being more a little nerdier about just the details of it, because to me, I think we're going to take the gamble on his mother and him happening to jump off this cliff. Why not when he was on tour, someone just murks him? Like, I feel like there's other ways where you could efficiently, they have snuffed out, the people who wanted to snuff out important black people before have done it. That's what it's,
if we're going to do conspiracy theory, which is what we're doing.
Well, we're deep. We went all the way in.
We're doing right now. If we're talking about the government actively participating in the removal of individuals with power and voice, it's not going to happen the same way, because they learn every time from the backlash of the people. The last time they got rid of powerful black people, they were martyred. They're not going to let them. They're going to try to disrupt your base, make you look nuts. The community turns on you. So now we've gotten rid of you without getting rid of you.
Because we've seen that play has been run for a long time. I mean, if you want, while we're in this well of conspiracy theory, that's the Michael Jackson play, right? That's the
and Prince.
Wacko, yeah, sure. But Michael got it the worst though. The wacko jacko every day. Like, we will make him a joke.
And
to
then
you.
Mike got angry.
Oh yeah, Mike went
And got up there with Sharpton and was like, black people. And black people was like, oh, you back. You back now.
No, that was.
Oh, you want to come back?
Yo, take a moment. Anyone watching, take a moment and go look up when Michael Jackson was uptown on 125th Street in 2007.
Talking about Illuminati and all that.
You'll be like, Michael got that. Michael, that happened. It's a crazy moment.
But Michael was a pioneer of his craft, and that's why they tried to destroy him. The same boy that he was supposed to have molested with the coke can and the wine thing came out later and made a video. It's on YouTube saying it was my dad that set that up.
I
right?
remember that.
He actually came out and said that. So we know that Michael Jackson wasn't crazy, but remember at the time,
And
Michael,
Kanye just put up the 2 dolls together on his Twitter too.
What $2?
Kanye and Mike. He was like, me and Mike.
yeah.
By the way, but for the record, let me just say this about Kanye. He's been trying to say that.
Yes.
Since before anyone wanted to harm Kanye West.
Yeah.
He's been like, I'm Michael Jackson. And we were all like, all right, everyone relax. But you know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of been, he wants to be thought of that way because going back out of conspiracy and more into just real Kanye that we know of psychology, we've been talking about earlier, his obsession with being remembered.
Yeah.
And Michael Jackson is the epitome of love him, hate him. No one's questioning the importance of him.
But leaders are elected by the people, so you don't say you are the best. The people say that you're the best. As soon as you start saying you're the best, that's when you're kind of a megalomaniac. You go into this. But, you know, Michael Jackson came out of Do You Remember the Time? Who remembers Do You Remember the Time? Of course. All black cast.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That was the
depiction
comeback.
of
That was the
Africa.
back.
Yeah.
That was the back.
Exactly. And all of the political statements that he was making. Prince came out and wrote "slave" on his face, and he's saying, "Own your own masters." You know, that is deep. It's not just own your own master records.
Nah, it's
That's
verbal.
own your own masters. Right. And so all of these people who have that much power, I can really say what I want to say because I'm not that powerful. Like, I'm nowhere near the level of influence that these people have. But that's what happens when a lot of people end up in 360 deals. They end up having to sign the policies of distraction, and they basically can't ever say anything because if Rihanna wanted to start a war tomorrow, Rihanna could start a war tomorrow.
The Navy could be real.
She could.
By the way, I know why his name is Chakabars. Bars.
No. I used to do lots of pull-ups.
That's what I was. Got it.
That's
All
where it
right.
came from. It's not-
He's also always, I brought him up because you need your shirt off photos. We got to chill now, fam. I'll be on my Instagram feed. I'll be like, yo, my man, put your shirt on.
Oh,
dog.
really?
He's one of those guys, you know,
Well,
abs
I can tell. I
crazy.
told you
He's
'cause-
vegan. I didn't get this yoked eating meat. I only eat jackfruit.
Well, I like
and
that though.
papaya.
It adds a dichotomy to his character because, like, you can't be perfectly righteous in every second. So when he dropped the little gems, like had that fight, won. He needs to throw it. You know what I mean? I need that. I need that.
Look at all the people that we celebrate. They all, you know, nobody.
No,
does,
we're talking shit about you right now.
No. I hear you. But all the people that we celebrate, nobody wants somebody who's not confident. I'm confident, and I'm happy to be confident because I know that we are here for a period of time in this
All that's
vessel.
good. Just put a shirt on, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I thought you was gonna
That
walk
shirt's
in-
tight though, by the way.
yeah,
I'm gonna tell you, you pulled that off.
My friend Fuso DG, his brother made this.
That's
thing
really
in
dope.
Ghana, but why am I going to put a shirt on when I'm in Ghana and I'm in Congo and
Oh,
I'm in
right,
Jamaica?
right.
It's
Shaka
cold
Bars.
here,
Shaka
right?
Bars, ladies and gentlemen. Follow him, and it's just Chakabars, Chakabars on Instagram, and you're gonna put up about the meeting we're having tomorrow.
Yes.
There it is.
Respect.
Shaka
There it is.
Bars.
Give it up,
Thank you, bro.
Chakabars, man.